Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is the final show of September on Monday, September 30th, and we are, 9 days away from actual, real, regular season Canucks hockey. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are we doing today, Clay?
Parker, I'm good. I'm glad I'm in town. I know last week we told everyone that we would still do a show. We do it together, but I would be coming to you from South Carolina. But because of, unfortunately, the Hurricane Helene there and the way it's ripped through the southeastern United States, all to say my speaking gig got canceled, which I'm a bit bummed about. But more importantly, our thoughts are with those that are being affected by the hurricane. And it made sense that I didn't go. They canceled the retreat. We'll do it sometime in the new year. And I got some bonus time at home today, and I'm here for the week, and I can go bowling. I can do my church stuff. So it's almost like I was never gone because I wasn't gone. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. And it's a good thing that it was before you left that it got canceled, because
great
point. That could have been a bit of a nightmare, but no,
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. It's good to be here on our really, our last show of the preseason, quote unquote. Canucks. Yep. Since we last talked, the Canucks have played 5 games.
That's never happened. Like in a week.
It hasn't. Yeah, 5 games in essentially 7 days. They just fired through the preseason. We went on the last show and said, hey, by this time next week, we're gonna have so much to talk about, right? All these different line combos that hopefully are going to be previewed before the season starts. How does Pettersson and DeBrusk look together? How does JT Miller look going into this season? No one's played for the Canucks, really, right? We have, Daniel Sprong.
Max Sassen's played 5 games.
Max Sassen has played 5 games in 7 nights. That's got to be exhausting. But yeah, Rick Tocchet has really decided, no, we're just not going to play anybody, and we're gonna go into the season basically raw, which is frightening to me.
Yeah, it's so tough to say, Park, about the whole chemistry thing because. Yeah, they got a big gap until their final preseason game this Friday, and then a big gap until their regular season opener on Wednesday the 9th, as you mentioned. So for a guy like JT Miller, and even before we break down all the games and talk about the Lekarmakis and Aturachis of the world, are you one of the conspiracy theorists that thinks JT Miller is actually fighting an injury, or do you believe them when they say he only wants to play 1 or 2? He was the second best when it came to testing behind Hoglander. He'll be fine. Like, what's your gut feeling?
Gut feeling is I'm a Canucks fan. There's always something wrong. However, if the intention was you're going to play a guy for 1 preseason game, the last one's the only one that really makes sense, right? Because they played tonight, like we said, 5 games in 7 nights essentially, and then they have 3 full days off: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They play Friday night, and then they have 5 or 4 full days off. So if Miller had played, tonight, then he would still get, 9 days between then. It's not like a real rest or rust buster, right? So I guess the idea is if you're going to play him in 1, it might as well be the one closest to, and there's no worry about fatigue because there's 4 full days off.
Do you think he pulled his snarly veteran card and told Rick Tocchet, I only want to play 1, put me in the last 1?
Potentially. And I mean, it's hard to argue that with, there's obviously 2 camps, right? There is, hey, and this is sort of what we said, going into last year, especially, but like, hey, this team's going to need all the help they can get, especially now with Demko out. And, there's some concern here. You want to build up as much chemistry as possible, right? Make sure that those systems are effective. Make sure guys are playing with the guys that they're expecting to be playing with this season, right? Because putting JT Miller out there with, Kiefer Sherwood and Max Sassen wouldn't do much for that chemistry. But on the other side, you look at what's happened to guys like, Patrick Laine and Drew Doughty, right? Yeah. These are players who are important to the league and are facing long-term injuries now, right? And that's obviously something that you absolutely want to avoid. But then on the other hand, you look at the NFL and how many guys essentially didn't play preseason in the NFL and how many major injuries there have been compared to normal this year because people are playing less and less preseason games. So they're not, their bodies aren't used to, taking that abuse. So there's so much at play. And obviously, health is important. And where do you lie on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Honestly, the way Miller is, and I'm not saying that the team or the organization got to be scared of him or he gets whatever he wants. Although I think Colin Delia was a little bit scared of him, but I actually think truly, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and maybe I'm my rose-colored glasses are too rosy, but I think with the Rick Dollywalls and the Elliot Freemans of the world, and they're not poop disturbers, Parker. Those are, as we talked about, those are guys we trust. Patrick Johnson, they don't start up stuff just to start up stuff. I truly think something would have got out by now, like the Demko injury did, like other things. Although they did a pretty good job of holding, not releasing the Dakota Joshua news. So I don't know. I'd like to think everything's on the up and up, that he's fine. He only wants to play one game. He's in good shape. He's a professional, one of the most professional on the team. I'm not worried. Now, I'm going to be worried if he doesn't play on Friday. I know Irvin asks over under whether or not Miller plays. If he doesn't suit up on Friday, then I'm a little worried, especially given everything they've said about it, right?
Yeah, you definitely got to get something under your belt for the season. It's you can be in year 8 of your career or 10 or whatever JT Miller's in, but not playing at that speed for 5-6 months cannot be, I guess 4 or 5 months more so. But that's got to be a big a big leap to just jump in to NHL hockey and in a big an important first game, right? Canucks are at home against a Calgary team that they should beat as of right now, even without Thatcher Demko. Obviously, they don't have Jacob Markstrom anymore. He's in New Jersey. But yeah, like you need to come out to a quick start, right? And the problem is, there's hit or miss, right? If JT Miller comes up to a slow start the season and has 2 points through the first 5 games, now we're like, oh, because we didn't play him in preseason, right? He's slow starting. You can't win at that point.
Yeah. It's funny. The Canucks played their best 2 lineups, and I say that with quotations around the word best. The lineup with either a PD or DeBrusque or a Hughes in the first 2 preseason games, and that was the one in Seattle, and then the Abbotsford one. The one at home against hosting Seattle, then, which makes sense. You want to put at least a few good players in front of your home paying customers. Then the neutral one, which was a home game in Abbotsford, and then they didn't really worry about star-studded lineup in the 3 games since.
No, it's really just part of me is always interested in like the battles, like who's going to be the guy that pushes to try to steal a spot, and we've seen a couple names here and there, but when there's really no star power in the lineup, it's hard for. I'm sure the viewership for these games has not been fantastic.
Right. But that home game thing, the home is a huge thing. That's why the game is in Edmonton, and that's why you see Skinner and Draisaitl and Perry and of course McDavid play tonight, right? And Arvidsson and Skinner. Well, they had their top 6. Except for Podkolzin. By the way, I know we're going to get to this or the game itself. Podkolzin was quite prominent. I don't know if he had a chip on his shoulder or burn his butt or whatever the saying is. I heard his name like at least half a dozen times, and I would never hear. I get he was playing with Connor McDavid and Corey Perry, but I would never hear his name half a dozen times when he played for the Canucks. It was interesting.
No, and you don't obviously. I don't have high expectations for Podkolzin this year, sure. Right? I mean that bottom 6 is not going to get a lot of playing time. Right. Yeah. Let's be honest. They're going to be pushing for ice time with their top 6 and how good that is. But yeah, I mean, playing with McDavid it's a cool opportunity, but I'm sure I don't remember exactly, but I'm sure he played preseason games with Pettersson and
he did
back in the past. So it's an opportunity that it's not like it's the first time he's had an opportunity like that to impress in the preseason, but obviously you want a guy like him to make the most out of it while not helping the Oilers too much.
4X Canucks, Parker, in the Oilers lineup in Troy Stecher, Travis Dermott, who only played 11 games for us, Lane Peterson, who also only played 11 games for us, and of course, Vasily Podkolzin, and only one, as far as I know, just Vincent Desharnais playing against his former team for us today.
Yeah, and I that makes sense, right? I mean, if you're trying to get guys up for the preseason games, put them against your former team, and it makes sense. The home games for sure, right? I mean, that last home game or that last preseason game coming up, the 4th, I think for both teams is going to be I'm hoping pretty close to opening night lineups, right? Because I'm assuming that's Edmonton's last preseason game. I don't have their schedule in front of me, obviously, but that feels like it would make the most sense because it's getting pretty close to crunch time there. And it is, yeah. And then, like I said, there's essentially 4 full days of rest. So
Yeah.
I would expect that that's maybe our best bet on actually seeing what lines look like, hopefully.
Sure. Yeah. Do you
But
think the
you know, who
Oilers
knows?
send? Do you think the Oilers will send McDavid and Draisaitl?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see them just saying no, we're good. But also, it's it's a long gap, right?
Yep, it is. It is for sure. Yeah. Okay. So I think PD's only played one game. Hughes only played one game. So yeah, we'll come out of preseason with Miller playing one, hopefully, and PD and Hughes probably playing two. Awesome.
Yeah, they're really keeping us waiting. Like I said, we were excited to see what are the line combos going to look like.
Oh,
and obviously I don't have them like in front of me for each game, but
yeah. Isn't it funny though? Like we're no further ahead. I guess that's your point. We're no further ahead in that than a week ago.
No. Honestly, we're more concerned because now we haven't seen JT Miller play. Although again, I'm sure he's all right.
It's got to be Miller, Besser, Heinen, right? It's got to be. Like they skated together in the informal skates.
Yeah, I think so. And that sounds cool to me. I think you could be a good fit up there.
Okay, who's your winger with PD and DeBrus then? Is it the guy in our thumbnail?
Yeah, it could be, man. Sprong, that was a real nice goal. Was that the first game or the second game?
Yeah,
for that one.
Yes, whatever it was.
One of those two. But yeah, like that's making an impact. That's what they signed him for, right? He was supposed to be the an offensive focused guy, and to go show like, hey, yeah, I can dance through some guys, and sure, maybe they're not elite players in a preseason game, but still, someone's got to make those moves, and that was great.
Yeah. Jaskrin says it was in Abbotsford the second game. Thank you, Jaskrin.
Yeah. So I'd be totally open to that because I mean it's him or Höglander, I think. Yeah. And I think Sprong has more upside in the top six or less downside from being in the bottom six, if that makes sense. Right. I'd rather, if you're going to have Sprong in the lineup based on what we've heard about his defensive game, et cetera, I'd rather him in a role in the top six than the bottom six.
Yeah. Parker, could you see, like they've, on a couple of games at least, and they've lined up with Ratu between Garland and Höglander. We know that Joshua's out. Could you see a world where that's the third line, and then you put Suter and Bluger together on the fourth line with Sherwood? Would you have time for that?
I don't hate that at all, honestly. Ratu's looked pretty good. He looked fairly quick. And yeah, that's a pretty decent third line, I would think. And then then you get more of a shutdown sort of focused on your fourth line, and I think it's very well rounded. I think as long as Ratu is what he's looked like so far. It's hard to, he's what, 21 years old still? Like he feels like a prospect that's been around for so long. Obviously not in our organization, but just like, a guy who was drafted, like he was talked about pre-draft, fell in the draft. He's already been traded. Like I feel like his name's been kicking around for so long. But he's only 21 years old. There's still a lot of room there.
Yeah. And there's one game, like he's played in 4 of the 5 games. There was one game where I think he went like 14-4 in the faceoff circle. So I was like, oh, this guy's awesome. But I noticed on Canucks.com, at least for the first 2 games, Parker, they don't have faceoff percentages. And then the last 2 they do. And he's gone 42 and 45. So I was just about to declare him as an amazing faceoff specialist.
Yeah, that's tough.
But yeah, imagine Ratu between Garland and Höglander as your third line, kind of like a very speedy, pesty type line.
That is an energy line.
Yep.
Like that is just we need a spark.
Yeah. And then Bluger and Suter responsibly, like both of them can play in the middle. I don't mind that Suter can play on the wing. I think you stick Bluger in the middle as long as he's healthy. And then maybe that's your bottom 6. You could move it around, but I think those are your bottom 6 for sure with Sherwood.
Yeah, I think so. By the way, there's 100 of you in here. Thank you all for joining. Wow. We are 2 subscribers away from 2,000. So just if you haven't already, just check to make sure that the number or the word subscribe is gray, not red. Click on that and get us to the 2K mark.
We're at 1998. That's pretty cool. Okay, right around the corner. Can you check now? I just want to see if we just hit it.
We're at 1999. 1 away.
All right, good job. Okay, who's 2,000? We might give you
whoever clicks the next. We'll know. I don't think we'll know who it is, but you might as well, just in case we can't figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't think we have to go back and recap the other 4 games other than, they won their first 2. They beat Seattle at home. And I'm just trying to look at this. Oh yeah, that was the one where actually Besser played. He had 2 points. Lekaramaki had 2 points as well. So I don't know if you. I can't remember it. There's so many games. Anything to say about that one?
Not particularly. It's so many games that it's just been like it's been hard to find the time. Like I can't sit down for 3 hours every single night to watch preseason hockey, right? Unfortunately. Regular season, I will make time. But yeah, that's it's just so much has happened that it all just sort of blurs together at this point.
Yeah. The Abbotsford game, Petey and DeBrusque did play. I think Lekaramaki lined up on his wing, their wing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do much, but yeah, that was the one. Oh, DeBrusque had 2, including the nice game winner in overtime. That's right.
Yeah.
From Petey.
Yeah, the pass from Petey.
Yeah. Who played in net that one?
Probably Sheila.
No, it was Patera, actually. Okay.
Yeah, goaltending wise, I mean,
Yep.
we've seen, we saw Shilov's, and I remember I watched most of that first preseason game, and he had that one really great save sliding to his right, and I was like, please don't hurt yourself. Please don't hurt yourself. We can't afford you hurting yourself. But he looks pretty good. No concerns based on what we've seen so far.
Yep. No, I agree. Shilov's was good in the first game. I'll get to when we get to it. I did have a couple concerns with him in the Calgary game on Saturday, but we'll go in order.
Well,
Lucas, what? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, Lucas, $2 for 2K. Thank you, Lucas. And I did see your earlier post. Yes, with Podcast and Gone, you are the only 92 in the Canucks organization. But thank you, Lucas, for being a staunch supporter. And and thanks to everyone for helping us get to 2K. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we can sort of go, instead of the games in order, I think we should just talk about each goalie, right?
Sure.
I mean, especially the 2. Shilov's, you had your concerns in that Calgary game.
Yeah, on Saturday. So and thank you, Irvin, for the donation as well, recognizing 2,000 subs. Appreciate you. Thanks to everyone. We know that in the series against Edmonton, they would bring all their forwards down, kick it out to the point, and then take a quick shot with traffic, right? Because he's not small, but he it's weird. He doesn't look as big because he's kind of lurking around trying to find defense. I get you got to pick a side to put your head around. You got to read guys. But I just found even in the Calgary game, Parker, that just from sliding from side to side, he seems to put himself out of position, or he just looks, say, not as controlled as Demko. And then 3 of the 4 Calgary goals were either from the point or started from the point and either got deflected, rebounded. So I do think the book is out on him, and he's young. I get it. He's young and he can work on that kind of stuff, but I don't know. It was just an observation.
No, it's a fair concern too, right?
Yeah.
Because Edmonton did pick that apart, right?
Yeah.
But it also kind of felt like it's Edmonton. They're going to pick any goalie apart, right? They're just so good offensively. But yeah, if the fact that like every team's trying it and it's kind of working a lot of the time, that's a bit concerning. And that sort of makes it, it's nice that he has time to develop now, right? The addition of Kevin Lankinen means Shilov's might only play, 10 games to start the season, or maybe this whole season, right? With Lankinen obviously filling in as the backup when Stemko's back because he's waiver exempt or not waiver exempt. Right. So yeah, I think I'm hoping that that's something they can just develop out of him, right? Or get him more familiar with facing shots in traffic from the point, because that does seem to be his biggest issue.
No, I agree with you. By the way, you want to answer this from Jaskrin, who did give a donation? Says Parker looks too tired for 2K.
Thank you for the 279. Appreciate it. I had a coffee. It's not working as well as I hoped, but I will be okay. 10:30 after a long weekend.
Yes, thank you for the concern, Jaskrin, and thank you for the donation. Okay, so we agree. There are concerns about Shilov's, but he's young, coachable, and he's just got to ramp up, I guess, step up.
Yeah. Again, he's 21. Like, how many goalies are like NHL regulars at his age, right? He's 23, I guess. But like, most goalies don't make it till they're 24, 25, right? He was a 6th round pick. He wasn't this highly touted goalie prospect coming out of Latvia. So
good point.
I'm not going to get too concerned on that at any time soon.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about the other goalie. You and I both like Kevin Lankinen. We know enough about his 2 years in Chicago, 2 years in Nashville. I thought he was fine tonight. Like, he's a little aggressive, but it's fine with me. Like, I think he's a veteran, and I actually have high hopes for him. I really do.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm just looking through Twitter, just to get some impression. Lots of people saying, got to give him less 2-on-1s, which apparently he had a lot to deal with tonight. Did you see Jim Matheson's tweet today?
No, what do you say?
Like, any team needing a goalie is taking Lankinen on waivers, unless the Canucks send Shelov's down because he is waiver exempt. It's like, yeah, that's the whole point, Jim.
Yeah.
That's why we went after the guy for like 2 months. The whole point was to send Shelov's down.
So were people roasting Jim? Like, was he trying
yeah.
to make? Was he trying? Did he think he had a revelation, or was he trying to troll us? I don't get it. Like,
I think he thought he was cooking something up. I don't know. But all the replies are just Canucks fans like, "What are you talking about?" Which is pretty normal for a Jim Matheson tweet.
Speaking of cooking something up, thank you, Botch Guy, for the donation as well. We appreciate you, and good luck, Botch Guy. I know you're not into wrestling like I am, Parker. Great wrestling channel. Also going to do some hockey stuff as well on a separate channel. So thank you, Botch Guy.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I like Lankinen, and Matt, did that overtime overall? Like, I tweeted, this is fun, but I never want to see any of these trios. Like, we won't, because obviously, but I don't want to see any of these trios ever again, like, together.
Yeah. What were some of the trios that you saw out there?
I know they started with Mark Friedman with Niels Amon and Niels Hoglander. So that was a trio I saw.
Only one of those guys should ever be out in overtime.
The Mueller Smith. Who's their defenseman? I know Mueller and Smith were out there and they got burned twice. I know Elias Pettersson is what we're calling him. He gave away the puck 2 or 3 times in overtime. Like, I want this guy to be good, but he needs raw. A couple years still. Oh yeah, he's totally raw. Yeah. So I can't remember all the trios, but I remember that none of them were good. Yes, none of them were good.
Well, they didn't have a lot of guys playing, right? Like, they didn't have Miller and Besser out there to start OT, and they didn't have Patterson DeBrusque as your number 2, and whatever you want to do after that, right? It's preseason. It's fine.
I know.
They got one more game, and then we see what they actually line up in in 9 days.
Right. And just like I'm trying to say, it's fine. We lost to a lineup that had McDavid and Draisaitl, but at the same time, I wouldn't have gotten to, at least I hope so. I wouldn't have gotten so excited if we had won that game too, because it's still, no matter how you slice it, it is preseason. But just look at the shootout, guys. It's McDavid, Draisaitl, and Arvidsson for them. And then who did we put? We had someone then Sprong, right?
We had, does it show you that? Oh, yeah, we went Lekaramaki and Sprong.
Okay.
We only had 2 shooters because they scored in 2 of their 3.
Right. Back to Sprong, by the way, not only in a shootout attempt that was stopped by Stuart Skinner, but on the power play, his release is so good, Parker. It's so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe the price we got him for. Like, that's the fact. Like, if he is an everyday regular in this lineup, and you can stick him in the top 6 with Pettersson and DeBrusque, like, that's a lot of firepower. That's 3 guys with a good shot, right?
True.
It's a few guys who are pretty good playmakers as well, right?
Yep.
Sprong has more goals than assists in his career. Right? He's a shooter.
I just as we were talking about Sprong in the top 6, and then we were talking about maybe a bottom 6 of Ratu between Garland, Hoglander, and then Suter, Bluger, Sherwood. I could also see them not starting Ratu. I could see them putting Bluger or Suter up between Garland and Hoglander. And again, no Joshua. And I could see Fields Giuseppe getting this lineup. I know Tocchet loves him. I'm not sure if I love him, but I know Tocchet loves the guy.
Yeah, I got nothing against him. He's not very exciting, right? Like, he doesn't have the flash. But he was solid for us last year, right? I think that's especially early in a season where it's going to be a little bit sloppy, and guys are, I don't hate the idea of having a guy like PDG in the lineup, but it's also like, give me the fun new guys.
Yeah. And this is all presuming that Bluger is going to play. Now at the start of training camp, they said out a week, so that week has gone by. So if he doesn't play on Friday in the last preseason game, then maybe another spot opens up. Then you can have both Ratsu and PDG, and because Sammy Blais gone, released from his PTO earlier today. No surprise there, right?
No, he didn't stand out at all. But he's still in Abbotsford, right? He's got the AHL contract. I don't think he's going to get picked up on an NHL deal anywhere. I'm I don't know. I'm excited, but it's so hard to tell what they're going to do when we haven't seen, half these guys play with the guys you're expecting them to play with.
Yeah. And because of that big gap that we talked about, Parker, Friday, last preseason, Wednesday, home opener. Yeah, there's no guarantee at all that what we see on Friday is going to be the lineup that we see 5 days later. We just don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get like a couple of the lines at least, right? Because if Miller and Besser and whoever they put with them is going to play, then play them together, right? Like don't spread them around to see how other guys look. Like let's give them at least 2 periods together, right? Let them get familiar with each other. And if Pettersson and DeBrusk are playing, put them with, if you're going to put them with Sprong opening night, give them a couple periods with Sprong, right? Same with the D pairs, right? Let's put the D pairs together. I think that's something we do need to talk about is the defensive side. That third pair, I'm not very sold yet.
Well, actually, that's a good point. So in the Calgary game, it was Susi and Desharnais playing together as our top pairing, and they got skewered twice in the first 7 minutes. They were on the ice for both goals, admittedly with our fourth line. Then they were on the ice though for the first Canucks goal. So then they made that -2 a -1. But is it fair to say, Parker, that Susi and Desharnais will not be a pairing because it's going to be Susie Myers or something else?
That has to be the assumption, but like Forbert looked fantastic.
No one likes the way forwards looked. Yeah.
No. So there's a lot of concern here. It's, I think Ian Cole was a problem in the postseason. And he's pretty slow. But it looks like we haven't recreated him in the aggregate here. It's definitely a little iffy, and it gets me a little interested. Like, Noah Juleson looked okay in the latter half of last year, right? Like I think we could see him getting into a few games, fairly early on.
Can you imagine they scratched Zadorov 1 game last year? Do you remember that in the regular season?
I don't remember that.
Yeah. They sat him for 1 game, but anyway, that's last year's.
Now he's making $6 million a year.
There you go. So is it simple? Case closed. Hughes, Hronek, Susi, Myers, Forbert, Desharnais.
I think it has to be. And I think, you're playing Hughes, Hronek 27, 28 minutes, especially to start the year, right? Susi Myers, you're probably playing 18 to 20, sometimes 21, 22. You never know, right? And that really maybe only leaves 13 minutes for Forbert, Desharnais. And I think if you can, it really depends on how they look, right? Because if it's not going well and you find out you need to shelter them, then it's a bit tough. And it's especially tough on the left side, right? Because if Desharnais is not looking good, Juleson slots in, right? He's a right side guy. But if Forbert's looking problematic, are you going to go 2 righties on your third pair? Are you going to, it's tough, right? Because I don't think you want to flip Myers to the other side. I don't think you want to flip Juleson most likely either. So that, and who are you calling up to cover? Are you calling up Lankinen to cover on the left? Like,
he's my favorite of the left guy. Like he's the only guy that's next.
Yeah, or Brisebois, but we've seen Brisebois enough, I think.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I think it's Hirose. You get Hirose going. It's been a while. Again, that experiment's probably over too. But I don't know. It does get thin pretty quick. On paper, I liked the 7 coming in if they all play to their potential. So we'll see. Again, maybe it's new system. They haven't worked it all out yet. And Forbert, Desharnais will be really good, but I'm a little concerned.
If you split Hughes and Hronek, what are your pairings? If you did,
oh boy,
Like, do you just swap and go Hughes, Myers, Susie, Hronik, or do you go Hughes, Desharnais, Susie, Hronik, and then Forbert Myers?
But then what? Does Desharnais play 24 minutes?
No,
Because he's playing with Quinn Hughes. Like we just fixed this problem. We just fixed the Quinn Hughes doesn't have a partner, so we have to stick him with. Tanev was fine when he was coming up and was a rookie, but we're gonna stick him with Luke Shen for 2 seasons or whatever it was. Like we got him we just paid $7.25 times 8 years. We just paid what $50 or $60 million almost to Philip Hronik to have this problem solved. I think we should keep this problem solved.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, I'm with you. No problem.
Hopefully.
Wow. Yeah, that all eyes on that Friday game, man. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, that'll be one that I'm tuned in for sure. Who gets to start in that one?
She loves. I think She Loves is starting the season.
You think so? Night one?
I do.
Interesting.
But I think you go splitsies though. Like it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah, for the first 2 games at home, I think you give one to each of the 2 goalies. Yeah,
and then I guess I actually kind of like that because if you are going split the first 2 games, you have the Wednesday and the Friday.
Yeah,
neither of them are like Hockey Night in Canada or anything like that. And if you're thinking, I mean, if you compare the Flames and the Flyers. I have them at a pretty similar tier, right? So it's like, we have the better goalie to play the better team. I don't think that's a concern. So I think if for just a home opener's sake, I guess She Loves sort of makes sense, right? After the playoffs last year. And I sort of like that as an idea.
Yeah. And then Tampa, Florida, and then Philly again, and then Chicago. So we're not playing world beaters here. Like Florida's obviously Stanley Cup champs, but Tampa, they're okay. And then
no, there's some winnable games here early. Like 5 of the 6 are I'd say 4 of the 6 the Canucks are favorites, right? To start the season. And no reason why they can't lose one of those but win one of the other ones in Florida. Like I think this team should hope to have won 4 out of the first 6 games once we're for 2 weeks into the season.
No, I agree with you completely. Anyone else that stood out to you, good or bad, in this training camp?
Not particularly. I was really interested in seeing guys like Lekkerimaki, although I knew, the odds of him making the team are slim to none, right? But I wanted to see, like I said in the past, I want to see if there's an injury to a top 6 guy or a guy who's on the power play, who you're going to slot or who you're going to call up to slot into that spot to disturb everything as little as possible. And I think he showed that, give him a little bit more time, but maybe he can do that a couple of times this year if you absolutely need to. But again, this team's got a lot of depth, right? Especially up front, right? Are you going to have, like you still got Kiefer Sherwood, you got Daniel Sprong, you've got a lot of, once Joshua's back, especially, and PDG, like you've got a lot of guys who are sort of like next in line to take those spots, I think, before Lekkerimaki, because I think you're going to have the ability to, if there is an injury in the top 6, you can probably find someone to slot into those spots.
Yep. 2 guys that have stood out to me, Parker, one who we know will make the team, one who's still gonna be a prospect. So I like Kiefer Sherwood's game. He's a bit of a poop disturber too. They made a point of saying it on the broadcast tonight. And sure enough, what does he do? He takes a penalty and then he sets up that beautiful that tic-tac-toe play, which was on the power play, which is really nice. That Baines finished off. I just like Sherwood. He's fast. He's good. I'm calling it now. He's going to be our unsung hero this season for sure. Like,
I get that vibe too. That no look pass. Yeah. In front. That was slick.
And nice to Baines to convert it too. It was good.
Yeah.
And then
number 44, like he's going to be a crowd favorite.
Yes, I agree. Sasson played all 5 games, and that doesn't mean anything. We know 2 seasons ago, Jack Rathbone played all 7 preseason games, and then he was traded the next year. But Sasson, to me, he's actually got some wheels, and he's a center, and he plays smart. So maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, he's a viable bottom 6 center. So I noticed him at least. Maybe I noticed him, Parker, because he's played every single game.
Yeah, and you got to keep in mind he has 24 already.
Okay, right.
So I think as a guy, if you are going to have him be a depth option, a la PDG, for example, or a Neil Zoman, that's going to have to be pretty soon. But you never know, right? There's always that potential that he could step up at some point.
By the way, Sammy Blais, no surprise. He had 14 minutes 2 games ago. He only had 9 minutes in the Saturday game, and then obviously he was cut this morning.
Just the legs aren't there anymore. I know he had like a bad injury a couple of years back, and just derailed him.
Yep. Okay, so likely we'll probably see a round of cuts between now and Friday, right? They're gonna send guys back to Abbotsford, and
I would assume so. Yeah, and then obviously we'll have the 23-man. Actually, when would that be? Because if the game's Wednesday, when do they have to? When's the roster deadline?
Yeah, and it's weird. It's not like the first day of NHL because there's those 2 Europe teams playing. Those 2 teams playing in Europe on Friday, right?
I've got great news. Teams must submit their opening day rosters by 5 p.m. on Monday, October 7th.
Oh.
So for next Monday's show, when we're doing our season predictions and everything like that, we will know the opening night roster, or at least opening day roster, right? So you'll have the 23-man for opening day, assuming everyone's healthy and nothing changes.
And Philip has a question about that. Anyone know about the 23-man roster limit? It seems we could keep Demko, Joshua Pullman off LTIR, but that would only leave 20 bodies to actually play.
Well, you could put them on IR.
Yes.
Right. Non-long term. And then you don't get the cap relief, but I think you get the roster spot still.
Correct.
So that's, but then those are hitting the cap, the guys that you do call up. So I don't know exactly where the Canucks are at cap wise. I know it's tight.
Yeah.
I know they don't want to be on LTIR night one, but I think being on LTIR short term isn't a huge deal because once you get off of it, you start accruing again. But I think they're going to have to, because I think right now they're sitting at about $91,000 of cap space, right? Which accrual wise isn't going to do much for you. So dipping into LTIR, I don't think is going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
But I know they want to avoid it.
Right. And that 91 grand, that includes, wow. That includes only 12 forwards, right?
Yeah, it's 22 players.
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of 23.
Gotcha. Okay. Good question, Philip. Well, I guess we'll know better on Monday for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Wow. That's a great point. That's good. We'll have roster finalization for when we make our predictions that we did so bad on last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be fun. So guys, make sure you're subscribed and everything for next Monday's show where that's our big season preview. We're going to make all of our predictions for the season. We'll have opening night rosters. We'll get to predict the first couple of games of the season, the first 2, I guess, because the 15th is a Tuesday. So we'll get to preview Canucks Flames, Canucks Flyers, which is exciting. So yeah, make sure you're there for that.
Hey, what's our subscriber count up? 2002, I'm going to guess. 2002.
I think it's 2001.
Okay. Well, whoever was number 2000, I don't know. We believe you anyways. We have no way of proving it, but thank you.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to get to the people here? Or is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Yeah. Oh, just a couple of thoughts. Did you hear about this Jeremy Swayman thing?
Yes, that is interesting. Cam Neely coming out saying there's, I can think of 64 million reasons why you should be, why you should be playing for us, and they're like, yeah, you didn't offer us that, so that's some good drama. But if I'm going to be honest, if my GM, if I'm an elite goaltender, that's an RFA that it could demand that much money, and I didn't get offered that, and then he went out and said that to the media, you better be finding somewhere to send me, because I don't know if that's going to sour things, I think, over there.
Yeah, that was such a bonehead move. It's such to say that.
Yeah, like trying to pit it's trying to pit the fan base against like one of your most likable players.
Yeah. Well, we know only Demko didn't like him. Remember, he left him hanging with that hug. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh man, yeah. This is just I don't care. I don't have any sides. I don't hate Boston, but it's just a bonehead move for the what is Neely the GM or the president, whatever he is. That
I
was not a good
assume
move.
he's president.
Right. Man. So there was that. Then there was Patrick Laine, as you referenced earlier. That looked bad. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was bad.
No, he's not been lucky on the injury front.
Oh man. And then Mitch Marner got hurt. Was it Marner or Nylander? When his teammate pushed him to get him speed him up.
Yeah. Gave him the tush push, and I don't even know how he got hurt off that, but
when he got pushed, but he wasn't expecting it, so he went down and then he got kneed in the head by the.
Yeah, I don't know if he was I don't know if it was kind of a dive because I'm getting a stick to the back, I'm gonna go down a little easy, and then it's unlucky.
And then Doughty's didn't look good either. Oh
yeah, do we know what Doughty's was? Because it was either going to be the ankle being broken or it was going to be the Achilles being torn. I think was what the speculation was. One is 8 weeks and one is the season. So obviously, when the best case scenario is a broken ankle, it's not great, especially when you're however old Drew Doughty is. He's got to be 35.
Yeah, he's getting up there for sure.
Yeah, he's 34.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess those are some of the big stories that were sweeping across the league in the past few days.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm ready to go to the people if you are.
Yeah, sure. We'll start off with Steven here. What do you predict our record will be after the first 10 games? Now, 10 games takes us to November 2nd. So about 4 weeks from today, 5 weeks-ish from today. Do you think we have Demko in any of those games?
I don't.
So first 10 games of the regular season, we've already been over sort of the first 6 where we're sort of thinking around 4-2. I think for the first 6 based on the opponents.
Yep.
Then they get at home Penguins, Hurricanes, Devils, and then Sharks on the road would be the 10th.
Okay. So let's say, if they're 4-2, let's say the Penguins, Devils, Hurricanes, those are decent teams. Let's say they go 1-1-1. So now we're at 5-3-1, and they beat Santa. I don't know. I'm going to say 6-3-1.
I was thinking probably between 5-5 and 6-3-1 is probably where they are, right? Maybe they do a little better. Maybe they go 7-3. But hey, if they're 6-3-1. You're at a fine pace. You're 3 games over 500 to start the season. Sure.
Yeah.
But even I don't know, even 5-4-1 would be it wouldn't be great, but without your star goalie, that puts a lot of things into perspective.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great point, Parker. That's kind of like the dance we have to do because you always want to start off well. Especially we just talked about how maybe only 3 or 4 of these teams are playoff caliber teams. So you should win the 5 or 6. So you should be over 500. Yet you're right. We're doing it without our number one goaltender. And what other teams, would fare so well without their number one goaltender, right? So,
yeah, I think really the key is not getting behind the 8 ball early, right?
Yeah,
you can't go 3-7 to start the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be. I honestly, you just got to try to stay in a playoff spot until then, right? If you can be top 8 in the West, top 4 in the Pacific, and then you get Demko back, and then maybe Joshua comes back at some point around there too. Those are two pretty big key additions. So I think if you can hover just above 500 by the time Demko's back, I think you're in a good spot.
Okay. I'll take it. I'm with you. I agree with you.
As long as Demko isn't gone for the season, because they need to be a little bit better than that.
Right. Good question. What do we got there? Has the preseason impacted your assessment of the team prediction for the season? No, because Shiraz, as not sarcastically as we made the point, though, we have not seen any of our guys play more than one game. Truly.
Yeah.
Including, So no, I'm not. I really think, and I think Irvin asked this right at the start of the stream, what was the MO for Talkett? I think he knew that it was 5 and 7, and he wanted to test his young guys. I really do, and he wants to see what he has. He knows what he has in the new guys. Now, Parker and I did talk about maybe more chemistry building would have been nice, but yeah, it wasn't in the cards this year. I don't know. That's a coaching mistake, or he's fine and he's very confident in his team.
Yeah. My only concern has been on the defensive side, right? Like we
Yeah.
mentioned, forward and Darnay. Yeah, we haven't seen JT Miller yet. He had 100 points last year. Patterson played a game. Like there's not enough to base anything on. If anything, a little bit nervous on the defensive side, feeling a little bit more comfortable on the goaltending side than I was maybe at the start because we didn't even have at the start of camp. We didn't even have Lankinen. So I think on the goaltending side, I'm feeling a little bit better. Defensive side, maybe feeling a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Forwards, we haven't seen anything except maybe Atu Ratu could play some games. And that Sprong looks pretty decent offensively. So I would say it's, there's really not much to glean from preseason so far.
I'm with you. I'm fine with that for sure. For sure. Oh, Justin, this is good. Oh, I wish I did this last night. Drafted Korpisalo as my backup in case Swayman sits. Yeah, that's a really good point too. For sure.
Could be good. Das Money asks why Tom Villander hasn't been at training camp or preseason games. I think he's at college, right?
Yep. He's going to do the second year at college. So he could do the Besser Hughes thing. If his college season ends before the Canucks season ends, we might see him with a cameo for a few games at the end of the season.
And playoffs.
Yeah.
Could be a good little deadline ad or post-deadline ad, potentially. Could be cool.
This is a good question. I like this one. Which Eastern team would you say is the most comparable to the Canucks in terms of team build? So I can't go through all the rosters because I don't know them that well, but I'm trying to think of a team that really surprised last year, Parker, and really, really improved.
Yeah, I think, I mean, New Jersey missed. But
they're like the opposite, right? Yeah.
But like they sort of had that vibe that like they were going to do what the Canucks did.
Yep, I agree.
Obviously, Ottawa was in that boat too, right? Ottawa was supposed to be the sort of fringe playoff team, and they just, they missed by 20 points basically, or 15 points. I don't know. The thing is, the East is quite established, right? Like no one that got in last year, like was that surprising, right? Top of the Atlantic, Panthers, Bruins, Maple Leafs. Top of the Metro, Rangers and the Hurricanes again, right? Like it was pretty similar. Like the Islanders made a bit of a push, especially late in the season to sneak into the playoffs. But I think maybe Detroit, right? They're pretty young. You've got Sider as sort of your Hughes comp. You've got Lucas Raymond and Larkin and some good guys up there. But obviously, they just missed out as well. But I think they've got, pretty decent expectations going into the year.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I thought about the Rangers too, but I guess you could do this about every team. They got a star goalie. They have a great defenseman in Adam Fox, a good puck.
It's a pretty standard puzzle, right?
It is.
You need a good top six. You need a good, star defenseman, star goalie, right? That's the big.
Yeah. No, for sure.
The recipe.
For sure. JX, assuming a healthy goalie group and given Demko's history, do you think the team would split games between goalies in the playoffs to give Demko rest time in hopes of a long run? So JX is asking about the playoffs if we get there. No, I think you got to ride because if you don't win, you don't guarantee that you're playing the next round anyways.
And it's what Boston said they were going to do, right? They we've got Allmark and Swayman, they're going to split, and then the second one guy loses. It's like, okay, like if you go Demko game one and then, Lankinen game two, because game one, you won game one and you want to give Demko rest, then you lose game two, you put Demko back in for game three, he wins. Are you really going to go back to Lankinen for game four? Like, no, you're going to ride the guy who's got you the 2 wins so far. Right. It's easy to say, but when you're in the playoffs, you can't risk, giving up a game because you want to rest one of your goalies. Right. Unless if Kevin Lankinen starts 30 games this year and has a 9-14 and so does Demko, sure, we can have a bit of a conversation there, but I highly doubt that's what we're going to end up with this year, right? I don't think the Canucks aren't going to have this outrageous 2-headed monster or even 3-headed monster at the goaltending position. I remember, keep in mind, we're talking about, a top 4 goalie in the league, basically, in Thatcher Demko.
Yep. I agree with you. I'll answer this if you tell me what Schadenfreude means.
Schadenfreude. It's sort of the satisfaction in bad things happening to others.
Okay, thank you. So, as Canucks fans, are we feeling a case of that word in the implosion of the Bruins as a team? Well, Lucas, respectfully, I don't think they've imploded yet. Like they're on their way, but they're still amazingly they've been a remarkably
Scored
consistent
109
good
points
team.
last year.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest with you, Lucas, a lot of for me, I'm over it. I'm over 2011. Of course, I want to win, but there's hardly any players there from just Marchand now, I guess. So we got DeBrus. It's funny that Lindholm and Zadorov went there. Heinen, DeBrus came here. Blah blah blah. But no, I don't dislike them more than any other team because of what happened. I'm not sure, Parker, where you feel.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if I'm ranking all of the teams by how much I dislike them, they're close to the top, but it's not like a necessary. It's not what it used to be, right? I will cheer for most teams to beat the Bruins most nights, right? But if it's if it's Oilers Bruins on TV, I'm probably cheering for the Bruins because it's better for us, right?
Yep.
If it's Leafs Bruins and it's a playoff series, I'm probably cheering for the Bruins because it's funny. And those are about the only two instances of that, I think.
Yeah. Doughty, broken left ankle. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so that's actually best case based on the injury.
Okay.
It's either that or an Achilles.
Yes.
So broken left ankle means at least, he's out probably until December.
When you said the word Achilles, I actually felt sick in my stomach. Parker,
oh no. Yeah, I forgot about that.
No. Yeah, but it's okay. I got to be a man and get over. Just like I'm over the Bruins, I got to get over my injury.
Fair enough.
What else we got?
All right. Yeah, we're at 11, but we did start 10 minutes late, so we can take a couple more questions.
Sure.
If there's any that stand out to you.
Here, good. With the improved depth up front, does that take points away from Hughes and spread it across the team more evenly and hinders Hughes' chances to repeat as a Norris? Yeah. So whether you count the points as the main thing in the Norris, that's a great question from Justin. Is how does it usually work when you have more offensive players? Does it actually add Hughes' potential or does it spread it out a bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think it hinders Hughes very much, right? Like he's still going to have about the same amount of time on the ice.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a similar amount of time as last year with guys like Miller and Besser and Pettersson.
Yeah.
Now, if your depth is a little bit better, well, maybe he's spending a little bit more time on the ice with some better depth players at scoring.
Great point.
Although I think improved depth up front. I don't know if the team is like way more powerful offensively, way more potent, maybe a little bit, but like keep in mind, like the third line scored a lot of goals last year, right? Like they did pretty good. But maybe you're adding, like I said, I think we talked about this last week. They had like ninth in goals last year, something like that. Maybe, around there with 279 goals. There's not a ton of upper room to go, right? They were averaging over 3 goals a game. The upper limit in the league was 304, which is only 25 more goals than the Canucks scored.
Okay.
And I don't think they're the best offensive team in the league. So maybe you're saying, hey, they're going to get 8 more goals next year.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe that's 2-3 points for Hughes. Like I don't think he's getting hurt is what I'm saying. But if his shot is better, people seem to think it is, maybe he's scoring more.
And we know the power play is going to run through him still, right? So,
yep.
Yeah. Great question though, Justin. Great question. Yep. What else do we got? So you know how the debate every year with the Norris Trophy is it seems to go, not always, to the guy who has the most points.
Yeah.
Fine with it?
Yeah, I think so. I think there should be another award, right? Because forwards have how many awards? Like 6 or 7, right? Yeah. You got the Art Ross, you got the Rocky, you got the Ted Lindsay, you got the Hart, like all these guys. They're probably they're probably forwards every time. And D-men get the one, right?
Yeah.
Goalies make sense because goalies do one thing, right? But yeah, I think a defensive defenseman award, splitting the Selke or not the Selke, splitting the Norris in 2 would make some sense.
Right. No, that's fair. Lucas, thank you for the donation. Oh, I like anyone that starts off with I have sources. I have sources. Before they bought the Penguins, Fenway Sports Group approached the Boston Bruins about purchasing them. Jay Jacobs said, no, kids don't want to own that team, going into trust upon death. Wow. Dramatic, but I like it, Lucas. I did not know any of that. Did you, Parker?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I know that if I had a dumb amount of money, I would probably be trying to buy a team, and I would meddle. I would meddle a lot.
Thank you, Lucas, for that scoop. A great question. Who gets in the first fight of the season? Is Darnay a fighter?
That's what I was thinking. You took the exact sentence out of my mouth. I was like, is Darnay a guy who fights a lot? Because that really feels like a gimme, if so.
Right. New to the team. Yeah.
54 PIMs last year. Not like a crazy amount.
Like Sherwood. Can you look up? I think Sherwood's PIMs were 40, right? If you could look that up for me too, because you're fast.
So, Desharnais has fought a good bit. So he fought, looks like last season 4 times.
Okay.
Including opening night against Dakota Joshua. At least I assume that was opening night. That might have been game 2 because they played the Oilers twice at the beginning.
Yeah, they did. They did.
By the way, it was the 11th of October. So early in the season, it was Desharnais and Joshua that went at it. So I'm going to go with that.
Potential question for our but that would be like 10 points all or nothing. That could be maybe that's too much of a swing.
I could do like number of fights or something. We can get a little creative.
Love it. What would the defensive defenseman award be named? Like the Shen Award or the Tanev or the no, you gotta go with
you gotta figure out who's the best defensive D-man of all time. But yeah, I'm sure statistically that could be figured out. Nothing jumps to my mind, but
we'll take suggestions. Okay, a couple more real quick. First, like to get a shutout this season. I'm going Lankinen.
I'll go Shilovs. I think, yeah. The thing is, I guess when Demko's back, Shilovs goes down, so Lankinen is slightly more likely. But then also Demko's I think it's going to be Shilovs or Lankinen. I hope. Right. Hopefully it's night 1 of the year, and hopefully it's Shilovs.
Right. Let's end with this one from Witten. Who is your dark horse young defenseman to make the team? I don't think Vinny D or Forbort is still in common. So I'm going to rephrase it because I don't think I can choose one that's going to make the team out of like next week. But I will say who's going to be the most. Oh, I guess then I'm changing the question though. To be honest, my answer would be no. I don't think there is going to be a young defenseman to make the team. Not out of
no. The only I guess if you thought, yeah, because I think we know who the 7 on the roster is going to be.
Yeah,
right. It's going to be those 6 and Noah Juleson.
Yeah.
Now, if you said who's most likely to take one of their spots, it's Noah Juleson at some point. Yeah. But if your question is who's most likely to get the first call up as a defenseman, so if a defenseman were to get injured, who comes up? It's probably Lankinen.
Yeah, but it's weird. He never got called up last year, did he?
That's true. So it could be Brisebois, or I guess it could be Friedman.
Yeah, who's not young. You're right. And then, I'm waiting to get to DPD or Kudryavtsev, who has impressed me actually, but I don't think that's going to happen this year.
There's no chance unless something terrible happens. Or they're outstanding somehow in the AHL.
Right.
Then we can't afford not to. But
so Witten, we hear you. That's what we talked about. Vinny D and Forbort not yet haven't instilled much confidence, but I think your answers are Juleson, Friedman, Lankinen before any of the young guys for better for worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. Well, we're at about an hour.
Yep.
Like we said, next week we're previewing game 1 of the regular season. We're talking about hopefully some real line combos from Friday night, if we're lucky. Hopefully JT Miller plays.
Hopefully,
if we're lucky. Otherwise, yeah. Clay, any final words here?
No, we're getting closer. And yes, in town for the week unexpectedly, but that's a good thing for me and my family. So one more game, and we got 4 days to predict if JT Miller's playing or not.
Yeah, folks, you want to if you're gonna tune into a Canucks After Dark, make it next Monday. Yes. We'll be doing our big predictions show. If you tuned in last week when we were going through all the predictions from last year, that was fun. And if you want to put in your predictions, next week will be the time. And, obviously you'll have the couple of nights before opening night to do that. So make sure you're subscribed here. Make sure you hit like on this stream. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning, or you can find it on your favorite podcast platform shortly. Also subscribe on those podcast platforms. That helps us out also.
Yes.
Otherwise, one more preseason game, one more week. And then we get, Canucks Flames opening night on Wednesday, the 9th. And we get to see the Canucks win 82 games in a row. Make it 98 while we're at it. All right, folks. Thank you all for joining. Have a good week.